Meanwhile, former President John Dramani Mahama has cautioned the general public and members of the NDC to stop associating his name with ongoing campaigns. This, according to Mr. Mahama, is because neither himself nor his family has endorsed any candidate in the NDC National Executives election, which will climax on December 17. His comments were contained in a statement from his office. This afternoon, an Accra High Court has accepted the terms of settlement reached between the state and William Ato Essien, the founder of defunct Capital Bank. We have details as Mr. Essien is convicted on his own plea. An Accra High Court has accepted the terms of the settlement, and this comes on the back of an earlier rejection by the court on the proposed settlement. Mr. Essien has been charged with the offense of conspiracy to steal, stealing, and money laundering. In court on Tuesday, state prosecutors and lawyers for Ato Essien advanced arguments to convince the court that the terms of settlement reached between the two parties is the best deal for the state. In the agreement, Mr. Essien has already paid an amount of 30 million Ghana cedis out of the 90 million he's agreed to pay. Richard Kwejo Nyakun was in court. He joins us with details. Kwejo, walk us through how the state prosecutors and the lawyers for Ato Essien managed to convince the court to accept the settlement.
Well, so Aisha, the Deputy AGR represented to the court that Section 35 of the Court Act is applicable in the instant case. So he advanced 3 points. He said Capital Bank was granted liquidity support in the sum of 620 million through the Bank of Ghana, and out of that amount, Mr. Essien is accused of stealing or appropriating 192.5 million, and if that amount is not paid, it is the state that would lose. Secondly, he makes the point that the licenses of Capital Bank and other banks revoked, and upon revocation, their assets and liabilities were taken over by the Ghana Commercial Bank, and that is also a state bank. And he says that the current institution that is expected to pay the liabilities is the Ghana Commercial Bank, which is a state bank. The third point he made was that it is the state that has paid an amount of 25 billion Ghana cedis to the depositors of the bank, and so it is the state that is affected and not the shareholders of the bank. Why he was saying that, lawyer for Ato Essien indicated that in the current economic turmoil the country finds itself, it would be inappropriate for the judge to sentence Mr. Ato Essien to some custody, but he should allow the money to be paid by Mr. Essien, and so the judge accepted the terms of settlement.
Kojo, was Mr. Essien convicted because he had earlier pleaded not guilty to the charges?
Well, so you know that from the outset of the case, Mr. Essien has pleaded not guilty to the charges, but today all the counts, 16 counts, were read to him, and he pleaded guilty to the charges. So after pleading guilty, the judge assigned all portions of the judgment that related to Mr. Essien out of that.
Well, was there any explanation by the court on how, out of 192.5 million Ghana cedis, Mr. Essien is alleged to have stolen his only, and he's only to pay 90 million?
Well, so Aisha, the prosecution says after painstaking investigations, they realized that 65 million of that amount was used by a group known as Capital African Group to acquire shares in Capital Bank, and this amount was paid through an EcoBank account. The share acquisition was further reversed, and the money retained in Capital Bank, and so that 65 of the money was received. The same amount, the same bank, Capital African Group, also used 35 million Ghana cedis to purchase shares in Capital Bank, and so when they realized that that amount was also reversed and it was retained, so that made 100 million. So it was less for 92.5 million Ghana cedis that Mr. Ato Essien was to pay. And then during the investigation, IOCO indicated that Mr. Ato Essien had to pay 1.3 million Ghana, and so that ended the settlement. So now the 90 million Ghana cedis that Mr. Essien is supposed to pay, he has already paid 30 million, and then he will pay 20 million in April, 20 million in August, and 20 million in December. That will make up the entire 90 million.
Kojo, we know there are 3 people standing trial. What was the fate of the 2 others, and were all 3 in court?
Well, so all 3 are present in court now that Mr. Essien has been dealt with already. the court is reading judgment of the two persons that are left. Tetenete is facing 7 counts, and Reverend Fredulad Odonko is also facing 6 counts. So as I speak, the judge is currently reading his judgment. That will bring you up to speed on that.
Kojo is our correspondent and reporting on this from the court for us. We'll bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. Let's